Today I'm going to show you how to use the clone stamp tool that we have practiced with to really take your photos and push them into something that you are making instead of just taking. So we're going to do a lot of digital art on this one. So you're going to want to start with an image. You can use my stock image for this to practice, or you can use your own image. And you want to choose something that you're going to want to have repetition or repeat. So I'm going to repeat the flip of the hair here over in that negative space. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is play around with your adjustments. You can play around with your temperatures and tints. Just kind of play until you get what you are looking for. Kind of like the way that that looks. You can also play around with your exposure. So you can play around with how bright or dark your image is. You can also play around with your brightness and contrast. Okay, and get it somewhere that you are happy with. And then we're going to go ahead and start cloning. So if you remember, when we choose our clone tool, our source is what we are picking up and our paint is where we are putting it. For this, we're going to want to bump our opacity down, and you can change the opacity whichever you want. I'm just going to start with 50%. So for the source, I'm just going to start at the nose here. And remember, wherever we are painting it, that's where it's going to repeat. So I'm going to go ahead and clone her face right over here in the edge. And because we said that we were having a lower transparency, it's going to be quite see-through. Okay. Now I've lifted my mouse up and I'm going to again repeat. So remember, the source started on her nose, so wherever I go again will be where the nose is. And again, the transparency level is something that you can change. So if I wanted this to be less or more transparent than the first one, I could change that opacity level. And you can keep going, as many times as you want for this repetition. I think I'm going to go ahead and stick with the 2, so that way I have 1, 2, 3. Remember when we talked about rule of 3s, things that are in groupings of 3 are typically more successful. So then we're going to go over to elements. If we remember, we played around with elements when we did our vintage photo. So again, you can really pick and choose what you like here. I kind of liked the abstract lights. I'm going to see what this one looks like, see what the opacity looks like here. That one's kind of hard to see on mine. Maybe check out some of these galaxy images. Oh, that one's kind of fun. Again, transparency is something that we can play with not only here. So I'm going to add this one. And to enlarge or change this, I just have to click on my move tool and I can extend that over the whole thing. Looks like I actually got 2 copies of this, so I'm going to delete that one. Actually, it looks like I got 3 copies of it. Okay, so if I want to change the transparency again, I can play around with opacity. And this is something that you can take one of your existing photos and just really push it to a more digital art. This would be an example of pattern or repetition that you could also use to turn in. So remember, when you are saving, file save, bump that quality all the way up, make sure it's a JPEG or a PNG, and that is going to save in your downloads. I'm going to go ahead and call this clone repeat.